Was the Harp banned by Queen Elizabeth? Hear the origins of the song Soul of a Harper by Rie Sheridan Rose. Songwriting as a parent offers its own special joys, songs about the children we love. Plus, was it horrible the night that Paddy Murphy died? It's all on Pub Songs and Stories, show number 232. It's time for the Pub Songs Podcast, Celtic and geek music and news from Mark Gunn, the Celt Father, reimagining pub life at pubsong.net. Grab a pint, slancha! Oh, the night that Paddy Murphy died is a night I'll never forget. Some of the lads got roaring drunk, some still ain't sober yet. As long as the bottle was passed around, every man was feeling gay. Then O'Leary came with bagpipes, some music for to play. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Mrs. Murphy sat in the corner pouring out a grief when Kelly and his friends came a-roaring down the street. They crept into an empty room and a bottle of whiskey stole. They placed that bottle on the corpse to keep the liquor cold. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. At 3 o'clock in the morning, after emptying the jug, Doyle rose up the coffin lid to see poor Paddy's mug. He stopped the clock so Mrs. Murphy couldn't tell the time, and at 3:15, they argued it was 9. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. And everyone got merry, they didn't care for prayer. Mrs. Murphy said she'd wait till all the gang were there. Of all the sights I'd ever seen that made me shiver in fear, they took the ice right off the corpse and placed it on the beer. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Now everything was doing fine, there was no ill at all, till Finnegan told Callahan, "You got an awful gall." I thought that they might start a row, and sure enough they did, for Callahan had carved his name upon the coffin lid. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Then the fight got fierce and strong, everyone was in. Someone knocked the whiskers off poor old Darby Flynn, and Dirty Andy Burke was there. Now what do you think he'd done? He placed the corpse right on its head in the corner just for fun. That's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Someone hollered for the cops, they busted down the door. They jumped upon old Paddy's back and they laid him on the floor. They knocked him twice behind the ears, then they knocked him on his head. And when they jumped back from his back, they found out he was dead. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Now Mrs. Murphy started in, battled with them cops. She chased them, every one of them. She chased them several blocks. A lovely time was had by all. 18 in court were tried for having caused a riot on the night Pat Murphy died. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the procession left the house. and everyone but poor old Mrs. Murphy was out south. They stopped on the way to the churchyard at the old Red Door Saloon. They staggered in at 9 o'clock, didn't come out till noon. That's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Someone asked old Finnegan if anyone had died. Lou says I'm not quite sure, I just came for the ride. They started out for the graveyard, all holy and sublime, but found out when they got there, they left the corpse behind. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, and they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Oh, that's how they showed their respect for Paddy Murphy. That's how they showed their honor and their pride. They said it was a sin and a shame, they winked at one another. Every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Yes, every drink in the place was full the night Pat Murphy died. Welcome to Pub Songs and Stories. This is a virtual public house for musicians to share the stories and inspiration behind their music. My name is Mark Gunn, and this show is brought to you by my gun runners on Patreon. I thank you so much for supporting my music and this podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast and download free music when you sign up at pubsong.net. I started off with a song called The Night That Paddy Murphy Died. I recorded that for my CD Going for Brogue. That is a song out of Newfoundland, and it's attributed to John Burke, a popular St. John's balladeer. However, according to Wikipedia, there's no record of Johnny Burke having written this song. One of the earliest known recordings of it is by an Irish-American immigrants, the Flanagan brothers, on October 25th, 1926. Interesting. Good to know. I'd heard it was a cover song, and I was like, oh, well, that's okay. And didn't care. I still wanted to record the song. I don't actually play it much because there's a lot to that story, and I haven't memorized all those lyrics. But when I have sitting in my computer and I'm recording songs that way, no problem. Things have been really crazy. So about a month ago, Kenzie picked up a bug, a little virus from one of the neighbors, and it got passed around to their family, back to our family, or maybe it's even different viruses. But basically, all of us got it at some point. But me, I have the worst time shaking coughs from when I get sick. And so I'm still coughing a month later. That's not entirely true. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago that I got mine. And so it's about 2 or 3 weeks that I'm into it. And I feel like I'm on the nearly getting better, but man, it's tough. Now, of course, because of kids back in school, that kind of changes things up. I had all these plans to stay on top of my show and release new content, every 2 weeks. And already I'm starting off. I think I was supposed to release something on Monday, Monday, June 7th. And I think it's probably going to be the 14th before I release it. Who knows? We'll see what I can pull together. One of my plans is the pre-promotion, getting the pre-promotion started early. But that's, of course, changes everything for the summer. For instance, my Coffee with the Kelp Father show is now in the mid-season period. So season 8 just ended on June 3rd. And now I'm going to continue to try to do shows on Thursday at noon, but it's going to be a little bit more random until probably August when I start up season 9. In fact, one of the reasons I was decided to release a show on the 14th of June is because on the 17th, I have a internet concert, and I'm also going to do an art show, a virtual art show on my YouTube channel. That's in place of my coffee shows. And I'm still going to be playing music, but it's going to be mostly instrumental music. I want to send out a quick correction for last week's show, show number 231. I mentioned the song Donald Where's Your Trousers, or Trousers. I said it was written by Andy M. Stewart. I was corrected, and I verified it. It was written by Andy Stewart, and I thought they were the same people. I was totally wrong. So another Scotsman, but different than Andy M. Stewart, who made his name performing as the frontman for the band Silly Wizard. So today we're talking Harpers. When I was at Sherwood Forest Fair, I sat down with Rie Sheridan Rose and asked her about the song that she wrote for me called Soul of a Harper. I was like, where'd this come from? and she gave me her backstory. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, I'm going to start off with a song, or tune rather, that I wrote from my first solo CD, Soul of a Harper. This is a track called The Lady of Setliff Manor. And the track was inspired by this woman who I was flirting with at fair. And I picked the title and the music also because it was all inspired by Turlough O'Carolan, the great Irish harper. I'll tell you more about it in a moment. In the meantime, this is The Lady of Setliff Manor. Travel with Celtic Invasion Vacations. Every year I take a small group of Celtic music fans on the relaxing adventure of a lifetime. We don't see everything. Instead, we stay in one area. We get to know the region through its culture, history, and legends. You can join us with an auditory and visual adventure through podcasts and videos. We're going to Scotland in 2022. You can join the invasion at CelticInvasion.com. My wife and I, we were sitting down watching Mary Poppins Returns as a family movie night. And just looking at the backdrop of London, just was, we had that shared moment. We looked at each other longingly across the room. She was pinned between the girls and and thought, wouldn't it be great to go back to Europe? Oh, we miss going there. So we're going to start tentatively planning that to be a part of our 2022 invasion or post-invasion or pre-invasion. I don't know exactly what, but we're going to, my mom lives in Italy, so we're going to go visit her. We might do some other travels while we're there, which would just be wonderful. Plus, of course, the Celtic invasion of Scotland. So there's just lots going on next year. But if you'd like to join us, hopefully we'll be staying at a castle. I haven't reserved the spot yet, but that is my plan to return to the castle that we booked last year. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's get on with the stories. Was the harp banned by Queen Elizabeth? That's the story that Rie Sheridan Rose heard. It led to the creation of a great song, first recorded by my old band, the Brobdingnagian Bards. It also became the album title from my first official solo CD. And like I said, it was written by Rie Sheridan Rose, who is a published author and poet. And little did I know when she gave me the lyrics to this song that I would be singing it 20 years later and have collaborated with her on many songs since. You can hear more of her songs and about our collaborations in show number 210 of this podcast. So go check that out. Here is Rie Sheridan Rose.
Hi, I'm Rie Sheridan Rose, and I wrote the lyrics for Soul of a Harper, and Mark has asked me to share my story. Well, several years ago, more years than I care to think about these days, I met the Brobdingnagian Bards at Excalibur Fair, which was the first real fair experience where I worked the full fair. And one thing that a friend of mine and I noticed was that there were many times when Andrew, Mark's partner in the Brobdingnagian Bards, would be walking around saying, "Where's Mark? We have a show. Where's Mark?" And, well, we decided to write a song for Andrew with that title, "Where's Mark?" And it was a comedy, and I don't remember a single word of it anymore, except "Where's Mark?" But I got to thinking about it, and also I saw this bit online about Queen Elizabeth the First. Make that clear. It's an old story. Deciding that she hated the bards and the harpers of Ireland, and she wanted them gone. They either had to go undercover or they would be exterminated. And this story struck something with me, and I wrote what was originally rather a poem because I wasn't really into lyrics at that time, but then I adapted it to become Soul of a Harper, which is a very non-funny song. It's still upbeat, and it's still, I think, a beautiful song, but it was written originally as a gift for Mark to make up for Where's Mark?
I did a search to find out more about this period in history and to sort of corroborate Rie's story, and I found several websites that said yes, indeed, it did happen. And here's some info from hipharp.com. The Irish Harpers began to be suppressed after the Anglo-Norman invasion in the 12th century, which broke down the old cultural systems. The kings, who always had their own personal harpers, who were of very high standing, were replaced by English nobles. The Irish Harpers began an existence of wandering from court to court. The English accused them of being spies. Queen Elizabeth decreed in 1603 that all Irish harp players should be hung and their harps burned. Interestingly, the British loved Irish harp music and usually employed harp players of their own. Queen Elizabeth had one. I guess he was immune. Cromwell is even more radical than Elizabeth and pretty much finished them off. Of course, the harp tradition didn't die out all at once. Turlough O'Carolan, the most famous of Irish harpers that we have on record, lived from 1670 to 1783, but 1792 was the last harp meeting in Belfast. And by the beginning of the 19th century, harp playing had pretty much died out. In Scotland, the harp players were able to hide out in the Highlands, but the Battle of Culloden pretty much finished off the Scottish Highland culture and with it, the harp players. That's really, really cool. Interesting to see. Actually, I came across something similar when I was reading a book on Irish music years ago, and it was one of the reasons why I put together a compilation CD called Victims of Irish Music, based on this whole idea. And it came back to me as I was reading this little excerpt. So, of course, Rie Sheridan Rose is a fantastic author. You can find a whole bunch of books. She's been delving into steampunk and some horror. She won an award for horror writing, but she also does lots of poetry and such. If you want to find out more about her, you can find her at rewriter.com. That's R-I-E writer, as in writing. WRITER.com, and go check her out. She has lots of books. You'll find a lot of stuff on Amazon. In fact, we published a short little ebook together for Pirates vs. Dragons, which tells the background story behind the CD, which, of course, like I said, she wrote all the lyrics for. So go check her out. And again, check out that show, number 210. Meantime, I'm going to sing to you right now, Soul of a Harper. I originally recorded this with the Brobdingnagian Bards for our CD, Brobdingnagian Fairy Tales. And then, of course, I used it for the album title for, again, my CD, Soul of a Harper. But I didn't actually have it on that CD. Might have been more appropriate and maybe saved me a little bit of heartache when I got a review back from someone regarding my Soul of a Harper CD, and they said, "This isn't even harp music." No, it's other Harpers. Oh, well. Here's Soul of a Harper. They say it is a hanging, so I will be. My body a twisting from yonder oak tree. daring to think that a man could live free. Though I may die, as a harper I'll be. Oh, the strings of my harp will never be stilled, while the green of the shamrock still grows on the hill. For the music of Ireland is her strength and her will, and the soul of a harper a mortal can kill. Oh, the red-headed queen on a cold golden throne, fierce harper freedom she never has known. Bright Gaelic passion comes through in the tone, so she orders it silenced and broods all alone. Oh, the strings of my harp will never be stilled, while the green of the shamrock still grows on the hill. For the music of Ireland is her strength and her will, the soul of a harper a mortal can kill. Another adventure, a wondrous thing. I know that my music will evermore ring in the hills and the rivers of each Irish spring. Oh, the strings of my harp will never be stilled, while the green of the shamrock still grows on the hill. Music of Ireland is her strength and her will, and the soul of a harper no mortal can kill. Yes, the soul of a harper no mortal can kill. Songwriting as a parent offers its own special joys because, of course, you get to memorialize, bring to life songs and stories about the children that we love. It's just fantastic. Now, auto harpers, like myself, often liken ourselves to actual harpers. The great Irish harper Turlough Carolyn is a favorite to all of us. But now it's time to highlight an actual harper and songwriter. Sharon Powers is a Celtic harpist in Birmingham, Alabama. She has played professionally since 2016. Her musical stylings lend both touches of elegance and whimsy that delight the ears of all who listen. She's also the mother of a baby named Arthur, as she'll tell you about in her story.
Hi, Mark, and everyone listening on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me on, and I love what you're doing with the pub songs and stories and just getting a lot more behind the music from different musicians, and it's a beautiful thing. So I thought I'd give a little background on my single that came out in October last year, Arthur's Lullaby. Named for my son, Arthur. It's a song I wrote for him when he was just a few months old, and I wanted to have a song that was personal from him to me, or from me to him, and that could be something that would be soothing, not just to put him to sleep, but if he was feeling troubled or scared, one that was just assuring him I'm always there for him and that he's never alone. So yeah, I mean, it's really just a simple story. I'm still, consider myself still a budding songwriter, but this just happened to be one of those really special moments where I think I was just so in the moment, holding my son, just him and me at the time, and I basically just started singing this to him. And very quickly, the melody and words formed for me. And a little note on the refrain is that I wanted it to have that kind of almost mouth music feel, or like this kind of gibberish filler syllables that you'll hear in traditional Celtic music much of the time. And so that's where you'll hear me sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. That kind of just kind of went with the word hallelujah and kind of deconstructed it almost a little bit. And I just like where that went. Something felt really right about it. And just another quick note about where Arthur's Lullaby, having recorded it and that whole experience, which was my second time in a professional recording studio situation or setup. From listening to the song and through the process of recording it, I began to have a vision of where I want to go with continuing this lullaby project, if you will. So I'm really looking forward to developing that further, and if things go according to plan, later on this year, I'll be releasing some more lullaby-type songs in a similar vein, like continuing that theme. So anyway, thanks again for having me on, and Sláinte.
That, of course, was her single, Arthur's Lullaby. I met Sharon in Birmingham when I was living there a few years back, and she started coming to lots of my shows and whatnot. And I was, pleasantly surprised that she was a harpist. So I've also been asking her to submit music to the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast, which she finally did last fall when she recorded this single. I hope you enjoyed that. You can find more about Sharon Powers. Head on over to harpofbirmingham.com. And hopefully she'll have a CD out in the future. Knock on wood. Just asking, Sharon. Come on. Upcoming shows. Of course, every Thursday is Coffee with the Celt Father on YouTube. And it is, as I said at the beginning of the show, on hiatus during the summer, June and July. Should be back in August. But there will still be events happening. So I will try to list those as they come around. Of course, on June 17th, there's the Carmanda Art Show on YouTube. Basically, I will be playing music in place at the usual time of my Coffee with the Celt Father shows. I mean, it is a free show, and most of it will be instrumental music, and you get to check out her beautiful art as well. That evening, I'll be doing a Celt Father live show at 8 p.m. Tickets are now on sale. June 18th through 20th, I will be at Magic City Con in Birmingham, Alabama. This is my first live convention in a long time, over a year. Wow. It's going to be interesting to see how this works. I'm kind of curious if like CDs are still going to continue to sell, which is how I usually make money when I'm at sci-fi conventions. So we'll see. June 27th is Tucker Brewing Company in Tucker, Georgia, and I'll have more dates in July. You can find my complete calendar on my website. All right, support what you love. If you enjoy the music in the show, please show your support. You can learn more about my guests by following the link to them on the website. Sign up to our mailing list, buy music or merch, follow us on streaming, and tell a friend. Pub Songs and Stories is based on the value for value model. If you get pleasure from this show, you can buy my virtual public house CD or send me a few bucks to keep it going, or best of all, join the Gunrunners Club on Patreon. Your support pays for the production and promotion of my music and this podcast. There's a link in the show notes. Special thanks to my newest patrons, Amelia Pantone, Ron Langford, and Rod Nevin. If you have questions or comments, email or chat in the Celtic Geeks group on Facebook. Last time I did a broadsheet that I released in the Celtic Geeks group. I didn't do one for this show, but I would love your feedback for that. Did you like it? Let me know. Drop me an email, mark@markgunn.com. And of course, if you also enjoy the show, you can post a review on Apple Podcasts or other podcatchers. I'd love your feedback. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to sing you one final song. This is Everybody Needs a Drinking Song. It's from my CD, Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits. And it was requested by one of my listeners when I posted the question in the Celtic Geeks group on Facebook. So get your request in too. Here's Everybody Needs a Drinking Song. All right. Sing with me. Everybody needs a drinking song. Everybody needs a carol. Everybody needs a drinking song. So tap, tap, tap another barrel. Some like to drink the whole night long. Some like to drink like fishes. Some like to drink the whole night long. So best bring in more dishes. Some like to munch on mushroom pie. Some like to eat stewed rabbits. Some like to munch on mushroom pie. So hone your cooking habits. Everybody needs a drinking song. Everybody needs a carol. Everybody needs a drinking song. So tap, tap, tap another barrel. Some like to smoke old Toby leaf. Some like to smoke a pipe. Some like to smoke old Toby leaf. So don't let's hear you gripe. Some like to dress in their best clothes. Some like to dress real fine. Some like to dress in their best clothes. So show me yours, I'll show you mine. Everybody needs a drinking song. Everybody needs a carol. Everybody needs a drinking song. So tap, tap, tap another barrel. Some like to sing along with me. Some like to sing quite cheery. Some like to sing along with me. So let's make this one beery. Some like to drink the whole night long. Some like to drink all night. Some like to drink the whole night long. So let's do it upright. Everybody needs a drinking song. Everybody needs a carol. Everybody needs a drinking song. So tap, tap, tap another barrel. Everybody needs a drinking song. Everybody needs a carol. Everybody needs a drinking song. So tap, tap, tap another barrel. Yes, tap, tap, tap another barrel. Pub Songs and Stories was produced by Mark Gunn. The show is edited by Mitchell Peterson with graphics by Miranda Nelson Designs. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher or listen on my website, where you can also subscribe to my mailing list. I'll email you regular updates of new music and podcasts, special offers, and you'll get 21 songs for free. Welcome to the pub at pubsong.com.